This is the hammer and the hammer sear. You can see it'll slide right out the back. The Phantom hammer was unique when it was originally developed because of this mating collar to slide inside the bolt and the well that the spring rode in to keep everything aligned. Early pump gun design didn't have an arrangement like this, and sometimes this mainspring would kink. The more support you give it, the more in line it is, the more consistent performance you'll get out of that spring until it's too worn to be doing the job that it's supposed to be doing. Sear is fairly simple. It's got a spring underneath here that allows this to rock. That little forward portion that rises up there, that has a little hook on it that grabs a hold of the lip of the bolt so that when the gun is cocked, the spring is compressed between the bolt and the hammer, and when you pull the trigger, it pushes on this little rear portion, raises the hook, releases the two, and the bolt is able to fly back. It impacts this shoulder on the cups, on the valve tube, which pushes the valve tube back, opens up the valve, releases gas to flow down the barrel. The recommended procedure for removing the bolt is to lift up the handle and get the bolt to slide out. This is a breech drop gun as opposed to a bore drop gun. What that means is that this gun has a very short stroke, just slightly more than the diameter of a ball, back and forth to load and fire. This is the channel or the lip that the sear grabs a hold of. This is a tube down which the gas flows. This sits against the ball, and you'll notice that there's a little slotted screw inside there. That's for the velocity adjuster, and the way the two work together is you slide this down the barrel until it impacts the face of the bolt, and you turn it until you feel it slide into place, and then you can turn that screw, and what that screw does is opens or closes the aperture through which the gas flow. And the more the aperture is open, higher the gas flow, the greater the velocity. This is for your fine adjustment. You use in a pump gun, your primary adjustments are the balance between your mainspring and the valve spring inside the valve. I want to take the pump off. Let me just remove the barrel, and there's the pump handle. There's the body. We want to take this off. We need one of our Allen wrenches, 1/8 inch in this particular case. Get that out. And it's just a simple screw action here. I was wrong on the size. It is apparently 9/64. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. There we go. And a couple of turns. Don't lose the screw on the field. Then you will be reduced to hand feeding balls. There's the body. There's the body. Feed port for the balls. Threaded face for the barrels. And the slot in the bottom through which the pump arm and the sear project. That's pretty much it, with the exception of removing the hard line, getting into the guts of the gun. You can do either end. All you're really doing in this particular case is freeing up this valve body here so that you can gain access to the valve seat, because the only other real working parts in here are a spring and a cup seal. So we're going to go ahead and remove that. We'll do this one here. Now this you can't really do on the field. I know that a lot of people like hardline, but it does prevent field disassembly. Now we're going to need a pair of pliers. You're going to need a pair of pliers or a larger crescent wrench to remove the valve seat, which is a good thing. So we're not going to go that deep, but there's your Phantom, pretty much taken apart in all of its components. Critical aspects of the gun are your springs, the valve tube aperture that you use. Phantom's pretty much standard on one. You can get other companies' versions that are different sizes. And that's pretty much it. If you do not have a hard line and you do not overly tighten your main body screws, you can do what I just did with these tools, pretty much everything on the field. You won't be able to get this detached because it uses an Allen wrench, but chances are you're not going to need to do that. So there you go. One final note, another trick of the trade. A lot of folks really like springs on their pump handles or on their pumps. The purpose of this is twofold. The major one is to make sure that the bolt is all the way forward when you fire the gun, so that there's a complete seal down the barrel. You're not venting any gas past a partly open breech. The other reason to do this is to close the breech so that balls don't just start rolling through if the gun happens to be propped up somewhere where that could happen. The issue that I and some other old-time pump players have is that in order to pump the gun you have to overcome the resistance of that spring. And that's not a lot of resistance, but in practice, when you're pumping that gun, particularly when you're on auto trigger and trying to lay down a string of fire, you don't want to be overcoming that spring because it does slow you down a little bit, and you are going to be holding the pump handle forward, sealing the breech when you pull the trigger. So there's no need to have it there for that particular purpose. So in most cases, on most guns that do have a pump return spring on them, I've gone to the extent of removing those springs. And yeah, it does mean the occasional ball lost down the barrel, but I think that that modification, as simple and straightforward as it is, increases the rate of fire on auto trigger tremendously.